So, welcome back to another week of the Screen Addicts podcast. Today, we've just got myself and Anthony the Rook with us. TJ had some scheduling conflicts and he couldn't get it around to seeing this week's feature presentation on time. This week, we'll be talking about the movie Race, a 2016 film about
James Cleveland Owens.
There you go, Jesse Owens and his Olympic heroism is what it is.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
The 1936 Olympics in Berlin.
Absolutely.
Where he shoved it up Hitler's ass.
Absolute heroism. I don't got anything else to say. It was a toss up this week about whether we were going to watch Prefontaine or whether we were going to watch Race. I watched both, and I got to say, I don't know why Steve Prefontaine has his own movie. Guy didn't even win a medal. I don't understand it. Can I get my own movie? I didn't win an Olympic medal either. Like, I don't understand. Like, and he died as a drunk driver.
Did he really?
He was a drunk, and the movie glazed over it at the end. At the end, he just dies. He gets into a car accident. They make it seem like somebody jumps out of like somebody crosses the double white or whatever it is, or double yellow lines, and he like swerves to get away from them and crashes into a wall and dies. He was drunk. He 0.16. That's twice the legal limit. He was wasted, and he was not a heavy man.
Well, I'm glad that we went with
Race. Me too. Race at the end, I was getting choked up.
You know, I never seen it, so I was like,
I didn't even know it existed, honestly.
Oh, no, I didn't. I actually didn't either. I Googled Summer Olympic movies because we said we wanted to do the Olympics because the Olympics is going on right now. And it actually turned out today is the 85th anniversary of his gold medal, the 100-meter dash.
That's awesome.
Fastest man alive race.
It was a good movie. I really enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it. Obviously, I think the critics and the audience score was not as good. Obviously, didn't get any Academy Award nominees or anything like that. I mean, obviously there's glaring faults in the movie. It's not like the best movie ever, which I get, but it was enjoyable. It's a good enough movie where you could definitely sit there for the was a 2-hour movie, and enjoy it, and not be like bored or anything.
At the end, I was content. I love the relationship between him and his coach, played by Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah,
who I'm pretty sure that he and Ed Helms are the same person.
Yeah, so you tweeted that.
I tweeted it too. So you can see, like, I'm pretty sure Jason Sudeikis and Ed Helms are the same exact guy.
I will say this, Jason. This is Jason Sudeikis.
I've never seen them both in the same spot. Have you?
I've actually, I'm trying to think if they have been. Maybe like an SNL episode.
It's kind of like Batman and Bruce Wayne.
It's true. But this is Jason.
You don't have evidence that they're not the same person.
I don't. I'll find it for you though. I bet they're in a movie. Oh, they're in a movie together.
What?
What is it? We're the Smiths.
We're the Millers.
Millers. Ed Helms is the bad guy, and
what?
He's a protagonist. Why I would say this is Jason Sudeikis' first dramatic role. And I think it was actually pretty good in it. I actually enjoyed his character, which interesting fact about his character. So Larry,
he is in that.
Yeah, Larry Snyder. Before we go back to that, Nick, Larry Snyder actually is not. There's not a lot of like historical references to him, like his character, how he acted. So Jason Sudeikis based it off of Gene Hackman in Hoosiers and Kevin Costner in Bull Durham. I was his inspiration for Larry Snyder. Interesting.
I really can't see either.
I think the only similarity between Gene Hackman and Hoosiers and him here is the hat.
and as far as Kevin Costner is concerned, I mean,
well, I didn't get that either.
The only thing I can think of is being talented and having had that skill set, looking at somebody who has it now.
Yeah.
And watching them and being like, listen, I didn't make it. So you better, like the scene in Race where he's drunk or he's drinking after when Jesse says he doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you have a chance. You don't even know. And it's kind of like that scene where Kevin Costner confronts Nuke and he's like, you got $16 million arm and a 10-cent head. You know, this one arm is worth more than every bone in my body. And he just pisses it away. You know, and that's the only thing I can really think of.
Yeah, maybe that's where they get that from, is from that aspect of it. But I thought he was pretty good in that scene.
I like the whole, how come you didn't tell me you had a daughter?
Yeah, I like that too. He's like, you never asked. And then he did it back to him later on.
Yeah. They had a very good back and forth.
Yeah, I think they had a good chemistry as both as actors, and
They
I think
did.
they really did portray those roles. I mean, it's weird because obviously Larry Snyder, you don't really, there's not really, like I said, not much about him and how he actually was,
Mm.
as opposed to Jesse Owens, who was the main, obviously he's the main character here, but without Larry Snyder, he's not there. So it's interesting. I think the way they did it was, I think they portrayed it great. I thought it was a good portrayal of both characters.
I if Larry Snyder wasn't really like that, I hope he is. Just because at that time, some of the things that Jason Sudeikis attributes to him being like, standing up for Jesse,
Yeah,
saying, that he doesn't care about race and he just wants to be good, and that we need more people in the world like that. And if
hmm
somebody could watch that movie and go, I agree, then maybe that's one more person.
yeah,
So, the part at the end after Jesse Owens is already a gold medalist. And,
Mhm.
and what's so funny is I was watching the movie and there is that bit where he's like, we're really going to go participate in Germany where they don't treat their people like equals. Meanwhile, our country doesn't. And we have very similar problems to that now, or
yeah,
complaints about that now, I'd say.
yeah,
Um, as I sat there and I watched it, I thought to myself, athletics and celebrity are important things in America, because if you are a person who is sheltered and is not exposed to a lot of different people, the only encounter that you may have with a member of a different race could be through celebrity entertainment, right?
mhm,
If that person doesn't have a positive effect on you, then you may not have a positive idea about that race in general, simply because you've never encountered them.
yeah,
But that scene at the end where the little white kid goes up to Jesse Owens and asks for his autograph, the fact that Jesse won 4 gold medals, that kid may have grown up to become racist. I don't know. But in that one instance, right there as a child, he didn't look at Jesse Owens as Jesse Owens, the black guy.
mhm,
He looked at Jesse Owens as Jesse Owens, an Olympic gold medalist and an American. And that may have changed his outlook on black people for the rest of his life
yeah.
because of that one interaction.
Well, I will say the thing about Larry Snyder, where you're saying that you hope that he was a man who did stand up for black people at that time, because obviously there was still a lot of segregation in America. There was still a lot of racism.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of, there was
There was,
segregation.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, I guess one part is I looked it up was like Cleveland at that time, where in the beginning they had the bus segregated. At that point in Cleveland, it probably wouldn't have happened because it was north. More that would have happened more down south.
Actually, Cleveland was actually a very racist city up until the late 50s. Because the conversation about Jackie Robinson, they always talk about Jackie Robinson. The second black player in baseball was Larry Doby. And they actually said that he had it worse because the National League cities were actually more open toward integrating and stuff like that than the American League ones, like Boston. And at the time, South Side, like White Sox side of Chicago was worse than Cubs side of Chicago as far as racism was concerned. Cleveland was very bad, but Cincinnati was not. The Bronx was very bad, but Brooklyn was not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about where the Yankees play, it's more north at the time.
Yeah.
That was Little Italy was over there. The Bronx, Little Italy.
Yeah.
A very Irish and Italian neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much black. And like now today it's Puerto Rican and black, but at the time it wasn't.
Yeah.
So racism in the North was very strong up until like the late 50s into the 60s, where there was a little bit of a change, not a crazy amount. I'm not going to sit here and try to make it seem like it was honky dory. But it wasn't definitely not as bad as the South, but not what we think of when we think of North versus South today.
Yeah, I would say, maybe my source got it wrong, but they were saying that at that point there wouldn't have been segregated buses in the North. But
there may not have been segregaed buses, but the sentimentality.
Oh yeah, no, the same racism. I'm not saying there's no racism up North compared to the South at that point, but I was just saying the segregated buses. They said that was like factually incorrect. But I will say, so Larry Snyder was actually one of the first like coaches to use black athletes at Ohio State. I don't know if that was across college, but it definitely was at Ohio State. That's why if you see the scene when
with the football coach,
all the football players are all white and they don't use any black athletes. So
he says something about it too. Maybe if you let black guys play, they wouldn't be running track.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what he says to him. And that's that's a big key there too. So I think Larry Snyder definitely was more progressive than most of those people there. And then obviously,
God bless him.
And obviously every time he always, there was always issue. He always stood up for Jesse throughout the entire movie, including at the very end with that scene where they're like, "This dinner's for him." He's like,
I wouldn't have went.
Sure.
You know what though? That's what separates somebody like Jesse Owens and Jackie Robinson and Larry Doby and Vic Power and Elston Howard from somebody who's petty like me.
Yeah,
like,
and that's
they had class and I don't, and I would have told everybody to go fuck themselves, and they knew that there was more important things in the world than that. And even Joe Louis, like they talk about Joe Louis in the movie, and you're watching, and you know what was great was they're all sitting there watching listening to the Joe Louis fight on the radio, and the white people are cheering for Joe Louis too, because in 1935, right, because it's the year before the Olympics, in 1935 there were bigger problems in the world, like Nazis, like real hatred, not perceived hatred or like, but actual like people killing each other over stupidity.
Yeah, I know.
Over ignorance and fear and stupidity.
Yeah, exactly. And there's that scene too where he goes to get the shoes for Jesse in Germany,
and he sees them rounding up Jews.
Rounding up the Jews and stuff. Yeah. It's fucking crazy. It's just nuts that like it was such a long period of time that they started that, because the war, obviously, how the U.S. gets into it is not till early 1940s, and this is
not till 6 years later, 42.
Yeah, 42 exactly. So 6 years later. So they were doing that for 6 years before the war.
But just imagine that though.
U.S. getting into the war.
Imagine that though. We already knew they were bad in 36.
Yeah,
I take it back. In 35, we already knew they were bad.
So I wanted to talk about that because obviously there was the possible boycott of the Olympics by all the countries.
You know what though? I did a little research on that too. Apparently that's every year. If you look up Olympics and put a year, it'll say boycott of this year's Olympics. And it's every 4 years, some country is boycotting the Olympics. There you go. You froze again. All right, you're back.
Do you know why I froze? I was talking about the World Cup.
Soccer shut you down?
Yeah. Was it FIFA? FIFA shut me down for talking shit about how the controversy and the bribery to get the World Cup into Qatar. Is it Qatar or Qatar? Qatar. So it's in Qatar, and I know people wanted to boycott that as well. So it's always happened when these big, committees get together and they pick a city, and then there's always going to be boycott.
So I watched Prefontaine. Oh, okay. All right.
So where we were at, we were talking about the boycott.
So yeah, I watched Prefontaine.
Yeah.
And in that movie, there's it's 72 where terrorists kidnapped the Israeli Olympic team and all that stuff. And I was trying to read into that, and I typed in 72 Olympics and it wrote boycott of 72 Olympics. And then I couldn't remember what year it was. So I was like, what year is this? It's got to be like 76 or something. Or it's got to be like 80. I'm like 80 Winter Summer Olympics, boycott 80 Olympics. I'm like, not 76, boycott 76 Olympics. Then it's 72, and it was 72. But as I looked up 72, I was like, let me see 68, boycott 68 Olympics. I was like, somebody boycotts the Olympics every single year. Every single year, somebody boycotts the Olympics.
So what did you think about that? I actually was trying to look up whether that story was true about Avery getting the construction deal.
That was true.
It is true.
That was actually I did a little research about Brundage, and it seemed like they made him out to be better off than he actually was as a person. From what I read, he was actually a Nazi
sympathizer.
Not a sympathizer, but like a supporter.
Well, yeah, I guess so. More than a sympathizer. Though.
More than a sympathizer. Yes, he agreed with them.
He's like he is a fucking Nazi then, basically.
I mean, unaffiliated, yeah.
Yeah. So that scene where he brings him up to
that shit didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
That shit didn't happen.
They said it didn't happen. And they actually said there's actually a conflicting stories about whether or not Hitler actually stormed off and if he actually snubbed them. So they apparently said that during the 1936 Olympics, they said in order for us not to boycott it, Hitler either says that congratulations to every medal winner, or he says congratulations to no medal winners then. So it was all or nothing. There was no, you could, get up, whatever. So they actually have stories of Jesse Owens himself, actually, that he actually acknowledged by Hitler. Granted, Hitler did the high Hitler to him, but he acknowledged
it's the Zeke Heil.
Whatever the fuck it is, I don't give a shit.
It's not called the Heil Hitler. It's called the Zeke Heil.
Whatever it's called, I don't care.
He wouldn't Heil Hitler himself. That didn't even make sense.
Whatever it is,
the Nazi salute.
Nazi salute. I don't care if I get it wrong.
It's actually called the Bellamy salute. I just want to point out. So
Yeah.
just so you realize, people might ask, why did Jesse Owens salute the flag like a soldier instead of putting his hand over his heart?
Mhm.
Up until Nazi Germany arose, Americans saluted the flag like this.
Oh.
And it was called the Bellamy salute.
Mhm.
Then the Nazis made that their Sieg Heil, and they were like, we can't do that crap anymore. So for a little bit, we didn't have a salute. So everybody just saluted like soldiers.
Yeah.
And then we switched over to hands on our heart,
Yeah.
which is actually a Roman salute.
Yeah.
But they do fists.
Yeah, which is actually kind of cool because that image of him getting the medal is like exactly like the image. It's like a spot on spot.
Isn't that a stamp?
It might be. It probably is. I mean, I'm going to be surprised if.
I know Jesse Owens has a stamp. Is it that? Is it that though?
It'd have to be because that's like the famous picture of him there with the wreath on his head, the towel underneath the sweater, holding the plant, and then saluting the flag with the big USA. So that's it.
I got chills.
Yeah, it was.
I got chills.
It was. So this was also. I looked it up. There's a website that I always look up when I watch one that's based on a true story. It's History versus Hollywood, and they tell you typically whether or not it's a yes or a no.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not it's factually true. And I'm looking at it, and like every single one of them was like, did this actually happen? Yes. Did this happen? Yes. So it's actually pretty factually correct. And that could be attributed to the fact that his daughter has actually helped out with the screenplay of the movie.
Oh, that's good.
So I would assume that's what it's attributed to. Also, so this is pretty cool. So Stephen James, the actor who plays Jesse Owens, he actually won Best Actor for the Canadian Screen Awards.
I saw that. Worst part about it is they got an American hero played by a Canadian.
Yeah.
That broke my heart. I was like, you couldn't find a Black American to play this guy? Damn.
Yeah. Well, the original role was supposed to go to John Boyega.
Oh, yeah?
Star Wars. And he turned it down because he got the opportunity to be in Star Wars movie.
That's all right. He's not American either. There's no good Black people in America? Damn it.
Could have had like...
we had to go find Drake Jr.? Damn.
I was trying to think of like a good like American actor that could have played Jesse Owens.
Michael B. Jordan.
That's true. Michael B. Jordan. He's a very good actor.
Michael B. Jordan could play anybody. Anything. Michael B. Jordan could be James Bond. Michael B. Jordan could be the Terminator. All right. He could be Superman. Michael B. Jordan can be anybody. I would watch Michael B. Jordan in a biography, a biopic about Bill Clinton, and he could play Bill Clinton. All right.
Probably could.
Michael B. Jordan is amazing.
Actually, that actually is a pretty good casting call. Like a other way if you wanted to get an American. Is he American though? He's
Michael B. Jordan?
Yeah. Just making sure.
Yes, he's American.
You're just making sure because I don't know. I couldn't tell Stephen James was Canadian while watching the movie.
I looked it up. Well, now I gotta double check to see if freaking Michael B. Jordan's American. I'm pretty sure he is.
You know who else is in this movie too? Jeremy
Irons.
He is. He obviously plays the German Nazi supporter Avery Brundage. Is that his name?
Brundage, I think his name is. Yeah. Michael B. Jordan's from California.
He is. Okay, that's
out in Creed, man.
It's what's her name from Game of Thrones, the Red Witch. They call her Red Witch.
Yeah,
the Red Woman.
Who does she play? The filmographer?
Yeah.
Really? She's the director?
Yeah, she plays the director.
I love the relationship. Speaking of that, I love the relationship between Luce and Jesse Owens.
Which is also a very factual story.
It is. And it's sad how things ended for him.
Because it cost him his life, basically.
But he was a righteous man in a world of non-righteous people.
Mm-hmm. He did the right thing, too.
And God bless him. Wherever he is, he's a special place in heaven for people like that.
Yeah, and he was actually an incredible athlete, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
At that time. Also, I wanted to look up. I looked up what his time is for 100-meter dash. I think in the movie was like 10.1.
Yeah.
I was actually watching this movie when I was watching the replay of the 100-meter dash today, the Olympics. And to win that race, you could be at 9.8. So, I mean, not terribly off from where he was at. So he probably still would have been pretty competitive. I mean, they also have so much more technology now, too. It's like better shoes. I
actually read a little science about that. And they said the fastest man in 2012 was Usain Bolt.
Mm-hmm.
And that they did this side by side, and they said basically if they ran side by side, well, not side by side, but if you put their runs on top of each other,
like
Jesse Owens would finish his 100-meter dash 14 steps behind Usain Bolt.
Wow. So
Right?
that's a lot.
Which is a lifetime in sprinting.
Yeah.
It's still fast, but it's a lifetime. And then they go also just the part where Jesse Owens is digging a hole to put his foot. Usain Bolt doesn't have to do that. And the fact that he uses those ash blocks to start off of, if Jesse Owens had those, he would have finished one step behind Usain Bolt. And they did some weird mathematical thing where they were like the transference of energy through the foot and yada yada, and they were like he would have finished one step behind Jesse Owens. Add in he would have finished Jesse Owens would have finished one step behind Usain Bolt. Like add in advancements in technology, clothing, and the track that you run on. Jesse Owens is faster than Usain Bolt.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, he was at 10.1 with shitty ass cleats,
running on dirt.
The dirt.
Do they run on dirt anymore?
No, they run like the hard, like whatever, like that asphalt,
rubberized clay thing. Yeah,
that kind of stuff. And then you got to figure, the clay blocks, the fact that he digs his feet in, the clothing he's wearing.
That's what he said. They said the clothing, the light clothing
slows you down. He's wearing like a basketball.
Wool. He's wearing wool.
Yeah, like wool during it, and the shorts too. So I mean,
he's got to be wearing either wool or cotton.
Yeah,
because there was no other material at the time.
No, and Usain Bolt wears his skin tight clothing. And I wonder what the height is between Jesse Owens and Usain Bolt, because that helps.
Advancements in medicine, treatment, just shoes. Just watching Prefontaine and watching Bill Bowerman in shoes invent running shoes.
Yeah,
like shoes back when Jesse Owens ran. When Jesse Owens ran, the bottom of your shoe was one piece, right? The reason that Nike is such a big deal is because Bill Bowerman invented waffle shoes. Waffle shoes, what that does is it allows your shoe to bend because the rubber is not the same depth across the entire length of the shoe. So it has built-in bend points, as opposed to previously where it was all one solid piece of rubber where there was no bent-in bend. Like your shoe couldn't do, like you could take your shoe now and just bend it directly in half.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to do that with a shoe made 60 years ago.
Yeah, it would probably snap in half.
I'm trying to find my damn running shoes, but they're not in this room. They're at work, I think.
While we're on my running shoes are over there, but I'm not gonna get them. They speaking of shoes, I pronounce it right.
Adi Dassler.
He's
wearing Adidas.
He's wearing Adidas basically.
But they actually weren't Adidas. They were it was Dassler Brothers Shoe Factory. That's a one little snafu in the movie as well, where he says, I'm looking for Adi Dassler.
Yeah.
Adi, Adolf Dassler, and Rudolf Dassler were brothers that owned the Dassler Shoe Company.
Yeah, but
in 1936.
It says the Adi Dassler.
Right.
Yeah.
After the war, they got into a fight, and they founded two separate companies. The Adi Dassler Shoe Company, Adidas, right? Yeah. It's not All Day I Dream About Soccer, and it's not All Day I Dream About Sex. It's the man's name. Adolf Dassler, Adi Dassler. And they were both SS Nazis, by the way.
No.
His brother Rudolph.
Wasn't everyone in Germany?
Nah, not everybody.
No,
I can't remember which one, but one of them was like an extremist. Like he hated Jews, and his brother Rudolph founded Puma.
Oh, really? So they both came
and they opened factories across the river from one another. And the people that worked through those factories were like gangs, and they were like Adidas bars and Puma bars. And if you were an Adidas worker and you walked into a Puma bar, they beat you to death because the competition. It's like that Twix commercial where left is looking across it. It's the same shit, except it was real, and they killed each other over it. It's like gangs in New York, but in Germany.
That's very crazy.
Intense stuff.
To move on, just to go on to one of the parts of the movie is the Big Ten track tournament, which is referred to as the greatest 45 minutes ever in a sporting event or in sport ever. Basically, he wins I think it was the 4 events. The 100 yard, 200 yard, the long jump, and was the relay again, or he won another?
No, he didn't do the relay. That was in the Olympics. He did the long jump, the 100 meter or the 100 yard rather.
200 yard,
the 200, and I
can't remember the 4th.
Oh, the hurdle.
Oh, the hurdle. Yes, the hurdle. And he won all 4 of those, and within the span of 45 minutes.
Right.
Which is insane. And then
what's really crazy is Ulyss
Peacock
set the the world record, and 15 minutes later, Jesse Owens broke it.
Yeah.
That was a crazy thing. That he was like,
that was
I set the record, and I was the world record holder for, I think he says 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then Jesse Owens broke it.
And then I don't know if this is factual because the movie shows it where it took over it seemed like a couple days between the 100 meter, the long jump, and the 200 yard, and then obviously the relay. But they said he actually won those 3 medals before the relay within an hour at the Olympics.
Really?
That's what I read. So think about it, between the 45 minutes, the Big Ten track tournament where he, breaks world records, wins 4 championships there, and then wins 3 medals in an hour in the Olympics.
The greatest 2 hours in the history of freaking athletic competition.
This guy's life, 2 hours of his life is like more than people's lifetimes. You know what I mean?
Definitely more than mine. That's for sure.
Yeah. But that is pretty cool. But I like the scene where he's first going into that the Olympic Stadium. Where
I thought they did a great job with the CGI for the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that whole thing, the CGI, him walking into this tremendous stadium, and and it brings you back to that point where earlier in the movie where Jason Sudeikis is telling him, focus on me. So you see like this whole grand scene going on, but all the focus is just on Jesse. So everything's out of focus, and it brings it back to that callback early in the movie to just focus on what you have to do. And you can see it where
everything else is just noise.
Exactly. And it's you see him like getting ready, digging the hole, and you don't see anybody else around him getting ready. And the next thing you know, he's getting ready for the race. I thought that was just an incredible scene because you have him walking in, he's looking up, the Hindenburg's over him, flying over him over the stadium.
I don't think that was the Hindenburg.
No, it was. It says Hindenburg on it.
Does it?
I looked it up too. It says the Hindenburg flies over in the beginning. When he first walks in.
And it crashes into New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I don't know if the Hindenburg actually factually flew over the stadium, but in the movie.
Oh, okay.
In the movie, it says Hindenburg on. I don't know if that's factually correct that it flew over the Olympic Stadium.
What if that's the company that makes the blimps?
I don't know. I actually don't know that.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm not a blimp person. I don't know enough about blimps to decide that.
I don't either. I really don't. But yeah, that's an interesting fact there too that they put that in there. But I thought that was an incredible scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the knocks it gets too is actually the actual sporting events. People wrote like in some of the reviews I read, they don't like the sporting events when he's running and stuff.
He looked awkward.
Yeah.
When he was running and in the beginning, and Jason Sudeikis is like timing him, and they're like, he just ran a 10-1 100 meters.
Yeah.
And the other coach is like, yeah, and the other guy ran it in 9 something. And he goes, you do realize that a meter is further than a yard, right?
Yeah.
When I saw him running that, I'm like, he is not A, moving fast. And B, he looks awkward as all hell. It looked like his knees were going too high when he was running. It just looked strange. He looked very awkward while he was running that little 100 meter in the beginning of the movie, where Jason Sudeikis rips him apart and tells him that he did a terrible job running. And Rook froze on me again.
Yeah, I did. So I don't know what the fuck. Like, I don't know why the internet sucks today. It keeps coming up saying my internet connection's unstable. I'm gonna be unstable.
I was gonna say, I'll show you unstable.
Sorry, you were saying?
I was saying, I really enjoyed like talking about the events, not like in the beginning when he's running, and doing his first run with Jason Sudeikis, and he rips him apart and tells him that his start is sloppy and yada yada yada, and he's too tall. He comes up too tall too early or whatever it is. He looked so awkward running. He looked really bad. Like, and they're like, he just ran a 10-1 100 meters, and I'm like, no way in hell. He didn't even look like he was moving that fast. Like, like I'm all for like you should have at least sped up the film a little bit and made it look like he was going fast because he was going slow.
Kind of did. I think they sped it up to a point where it didn't look too fake or like too bad. You know what I mean? Like, because it does look like he is moving a little bit, but it looks very awkward.
Just the rest of the movie, I didn't notice it as much, but that scene where he's running by himself.
Well, because he's running by himself and he's coming across, they show the whole body.
Yeah, it looked really bad.
Runs. It's usually like the chat, like the waist up.
A forward shot.
Yeah, forward shot, waist up, and it's not as bad. But
yeah, that was
like
bad. That was really bad.
Yeah, that was one of the major knocks on it, is the the sporting events. They didn't feel like it was as.
They didn't look genuine.
Been. Yeah, it's genuine. So I'm trying to think about it. Oh, actually, the actor who plays Ulysses Peacock, Shamir Anderson, is actually Stephen James' real life brother.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Work together.
That's really cool. I mean, I thought I had seen Stephen James in something else, but I didn't.
So he was in I watched the show on Amazon Prime, Homecoming.
Okay.
And he was like one of the main characters with Julia Roberts.
Is Homecoming like the Manchurian Candidate?
It's sort of, but not really, I guess.
So it's like that other show that's like the Manchurian Candidate.
What show's that?
The what's it called? With Julia Stiles.
No, I don't think so. So
you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know if I think so. Maybe
there's a show. It was on like Cinemax or Showtime or something like that.
The Manchurian Candidate is what he's supposed to kill people, right? Damn.
No, the Manchurian Candidate is a war veteran, goes overseas in a tour, gets kidnapped by the enemy, brainwashed, and then sent back. And he's treated like JFK, like as a war hero, runs for president. And they say the secret word, and he becomes a terrorist. Not a terrorist, but he becomes a puppet for the terrorist organization that brainwashed him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what. Yeah. So no, it's not like that. And I think that's not Julia Stiles. You're talking about
Homeland.
Homeland. Yes, that's the one. So no, that's not Homeland. That's not Julia Stiles. It's Claire Danes.
Oh,
but it's not like that. So Homecoming is about they bring home war veterans to like a private company taking care of their PTSD, and they basically just feed them pills to wipe their memories of everything, and then they send them back out to war.
That's not cool.
No, that was one of that's obviously it's a spoiler alert if anyone wants to watch Homecoming. I just ruined it for you, but that's basically at the end, and that's where they get kind of where the conflict comes in the movie. I mean, in the TV show. But he's in that, and he's also in if Beale Street Could Talk, which was actually a very Academy Award worthy.
If Beale Street Could Talk,
yeah,
like Memphis Beale Street, Beale Street,
yeah. Yeah,
put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded the plane.
So he's in that too. I didn't see it, but I heard that's a very good movie.
Touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues in the middle of the pouring rain. That's the only thing I know about Beale Street. They mentioned it in that song.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
shit is catchy as hell.
That is.
Walking in Memphis.
That's a good song. But
walking with my feet off of Beale. At the first time I heard it, I was like, what the fuck did he just say? I had to look at the lyrics. I'm like, what the fuck is Beale?
Yeah.
Like Jennifer Beals?
Yeah.
Jessica Biel?
So I think that's pretty much it. I mean, for the movie. I mean,
that's pretty much it. What's your rating on that one?
I'm gonna give it 3.5. So I don't think it was perfect. I don't think it was terrible. I'm gonna go 3.5.
I'm gonna go with 3.5 as well. I felt like there were some parts of the movie that were superfluous. The relationship that he had with the other girl, the relationship with his wife, what didn't seem all that like it wasn't a major plot point, but they tried to throw it in there anyway.
I guess they wanted to show like his life. Besides,
he does have relationships, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if they were gonna do that, I honestly let's just throw that out there. He was married to Ruth Owens for like up until his death, from 36 until his death. They got married July 5th, 35.
Yeah, right before he left. Like,
and they were married until his death in 2000 and something. God bless them both. Huh?
He died in 1980.
Did he?
I'm gonna look it up.
Maybe he did die in 1980.
Yeah, March 31st, 1980.
All right. Then yeah. So they were married for 60 years, something like that. Or no, 50 something years.
Yeah, she died in 2001.
There it is. I knew she died. I knew somebody died in 2000 something.
Yeah. And then Larry Snyder died in 1982.
But yeah, they were together for a very long time. I mean, then again, their generation, you got married and you made a commitment and you stayed there.
Yeah.
So, but if they were going to talk about that, I mean, they should have added something more than they had a rocky pre-marriage situation. Like, other than that, like really, there was really no need to add that at all. That little minute of doubt.
I guess maybe just to give the story.
I think that scene. I think that scene added more to his relationship with Snyder than it did with her.
Which scene was it?
Where he's having doubts about his relationship, and his coach comes over to him and says, listen, I'm sure who the girl you're hanging out with right now is a fine woman, but and I'm not here to judge you. I'm not gonna judge you. And but here's what I did in my life and how I messed things up. And then he goes, you didn't tell me you had a daughter. He goes, you didn't ask. And they flip it on each other a lot in the movie.
Yeah. I guess that probably was more of to show it, to further that relationship with him and his coach.
It built his coach's relationship with him more than his wife's. But there's other ways to do that other than them bringing up that one ugly part in his marriage.
Yeah, the one ugly part in his life. Yeah. To bring that up. But I guess, his daughters were in control of it. So they kind of wanted to bring it up too, it is like not to hide the blemish from their family, just to tell the truth of it. It makes it better. It was better off for their, obviously, going forward anyway. They stay together, like you said, for the rest of their lives. So.
Yeah. But I give it 3.5 stars. We could have got a little bit extra from Stephen James. There was something missing there. There was more feeling and sentiment that could have been behind it than what we got. I don't think they ever showed the actor who was playing Hitler's face.
They barely showed.
They showed his profile, and he didn't say anything, and he just walked away.
Mm-hmm. He never spoke.
That would have been something. Maybe I want to see the villain. They made Joseph Goebbels the villain.
Yeah, because
come on now, we know who the villain is.
Yeah, they did Goebbels because because of propaganda, the filming, and they were the Olympics for him was supposed to be this big propaganda show that he was going to show the Aryan race on international stage. But
ultimately, though, who's driving that train?
Adolf Hitler.
He might be the conductor of that train, but the owner is Hitler.
Yeah.
So who cares? You know what I mean? He's the assistant manager. Assistant to the regional manager, all right?
Yeah, he's like Dwight Schrute.
He's Dwight to friggin' Hitler's Michael Scott terrorizing Europe, and they never showed the guy, and I was kind of like, all right, whatever. But I give it 3.5 stars as well. I would watch it again,
and
I would recommend others to watch it.
To Hitler,
always 2 thumbs down to Hitler. I'm a big Captain America supporter simply because there's that one video, or that one, not that video, but that one
image,
image of him punching Hitler right in the face.
And Jesse Owens punched Hitler right in the face by running track.
That's right. With 4 gold medals. That was another interesting thing. The medals back then didn't go around your
it was a little box.
You got it in a box. That was kind of cool.
That was cool. We did actually. Now we already did the rating, but we did miss the storyline of the Avery gave up the Jewish athletes for Goebbels due to the corruption.
Yeah,
was going on behind the scenes, was kind of fucked up.
Yeah,
and those guys seem like they obviously trained for a long time. They're meant to be there, and then they exchanged them out for 2 other guys just because they were Jewish, and that's just.
If I could go back in time, I'd let those guys run and rub it in Hitler's face. Oh my god,
that would. And they were saying they were faster too.
That would have been great to watch 2 Jewish guys just rub it in their face.
It would have been 2 Jewish guys and 2 black guys to win a relay.
Oh my goodness.
In Berlin in 1936.
Right? That would have made my life. If I could see, I wish we could, as Americans, we could hold that today. I wish.
It's in the multiverse somewhere.
Yeah. But raise a glass. Jesse Owens, the Olympic team,
Jones,
36, doing us right.
American heroes. So I got my America hat on. And my
American heroes. Well, I always got my Captain America up there, and I always have my Captain America on me.
Yeah.
But definitely, I would definitely recommend it, and
I would recommend it
for those of you who
time too.
Say again.
Especially during this time too, especially with Black Lives movement, and just give people to understand it's fucking is horrible when people just do that. They just see a race and they just judge them for what they think or their preconceived notions of someone in that race. Yeah. And this movie shows that. You got to stand up for people like that when you see that shit. So
you know what it is I think we as a people need to focus more on our similarities than on our differences. Exactly. Look at Snyder and Jesse. Jesse is a black guy, young guy, but they both like track. They're both pretty damn smart, excel at their positions. They both have families, and I think they both noticed qualities in one another they both had. as opposed to focusing on the differences, which, yes, of course, there's going to be many differences of how they were raised and their likes and dislikes. But there's going to be things that are similar. And I think that's the things that we really, as a people, need to focus on, that there's something about us what was interesting for us as kids, growing up, when 9/11 happened, everybody was American, and it was us against the world. And we've lost that over the last 20 years. We've lost that. And I wish we could regain that, but not through some sort of tragedy, but through some understanding, some sort of happiness or joy, where we can all look at each other and just freaking throw a high five at one another. Like, yeah, listen, it could be worse. At least we're American. That's what we could say. But I mean, we'll see. Hopefully we'll see.
Yeah.
There's a lot of healing that needs to be done.
Yeah. On that note, I think it was a good sentiment to end on, instead of mine angry cursing. So
absolutely.
This was great again, Nick. I enjoyed going over this movie. Hopefully we'll figure out next time's movie. I don't know if we have a theme, but we'll just try to throw someone out, one of the sports movies. And if any of you guys have suggestions for movie for us to review, just leave it in the comments or tweet at us at Score Addicts Pod on Twitter.
Absolutely. Thank you again for joining us at Screen Addicts. We appreciate you being with us this time. And if you get the opportunity, watch Race, starring Stephen James, Jeremy Irons, Jason Sudeikis, 2016 movie about Jesse Owens and his race for 4 Olympic gold medals in 1936 against Nazi Germany. Thanks for being with us. Please like, share, and subscribe. From all of us over here at Screen Addicts, we wish you a good night.
Stay rock.